Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the RPH Ally Weekly Peer Support Show. My name is Dr. Eric Speck, and I am the RPH Ally Peer Support Director. And today I'm going to join you. I'm joining just real briefly to answer a question that was asked of me last week at the RPH Ally event that was put on. I've had some time to do some thinking about it, and I wanted to give a more full answer here, which I'm going to give to you guys right after I play this reel. Awesome. All right. Sorry, it took me a second to find that button there. So last week, RPH Ally had this 3-day event, and it was pretty awesome. And I got to spend 30 minutes talking about peer support and, the ways out there to help pharmacists and, my involvement in that as well. And there was an attendee who asked a question at the end, and he asked if I work with any government organizations to kind of provide help and services to pharmacists who may be struggling with substance use disorder or going through other issues. I don't have that question verbatim, but it was something like that, I believe. And the answer I gave was a real short no. I do not work with any government, associations. That was basically it. I told them I, offer these services and resources on RPH Ally on the peer support channel, and I offer a place where pharmacists can come, ask any questions, talk about their issues, and I provide resources and content that I think will be helpful to any pharmacist who may be going through something currently or not. Just helpful in general. And I started thinking about that more should I be working with government organizations or associations to provide, better services? And I'm not saying that that's not a good route to go. I think that's definitely a good route to go. And I think there are some good programs out there to help pharmacists and other people that are government affiliated. But my experience specifically does not support having any type of government facilitation of helping pharmacists. When I was disciplined by the California State Board of Pharmacy, I got interned to their pharmacist recovery program, and that's the California State Board of Pharmacy is the Department of Consumer Affairs government organization, and they contract directly with a company called Maximus to do the pharmacist recovery program and the monitoring to make sure we're fulfilling all the requirements of that program, including, urine drug screens, going to 12-step meetings, going to our weekly support groups, being compliant with all the different terms and conditions of the agreement. And I thought going through the program was basically a joke. It was not helpful. I did not feel like they wanted me to get better. I felt like it was more of a disciplinary program than anything else. And I was just being treated as a number. A couple examples of that are when I first entered the program, I wasn't allowed to work for a period of time, which is understandable, right? They want to make sure you're stable. They want to make sure it's safe for you to go back to practice as a pharmacist. I get that. They don't tell you how long you're going to be out of work, but they do meet quarterly. They have a committee that meets quarterly to discuss all the participants' progress and, if they're cleared to go back to work and have any other conditions, modified, with their contract based on how they're progressing through the program. So anyways, I was initially told that based on everything that happened for me and the fact that it's been about a year, I'd probably be out of work for about 3 months. So the first quarter, the committee met. I was not allowed to go back to work. So I was hopeful at first, but then they said, nope, you still need to wait. We need to monitor you more. I'm like, okay, I was hopeful, but that sucks. Life goes on. I'll keep doing what I'm doing. And then 3 months later, I was like, well, first they said 3 months. And then they said, no, so it's got to be now. It's got to be 6 months. I was very hopeful. I was excited. I was like, this is going to be it. Well, they met and still said, no, he's not ready to go back. And guys, and there's no I can't talk to anybody about this and be like, well, what was the reason for the decision? I mean, like I said, there's no help at all. There's no explanation. It's just nope, that's what we decided. And I'm like, guys, I'm going above and beyond. You give me all of these requirements to do, and they're pretty extensive. There's a lot of different things you have to do. Urine drug screens once or twice weekly, 12-step meetings every single day at first for at least 90 days, once or twice weekly peer support meetings. And it's a lot of running around. It keeps you busy. I was doing it all. I was doing more. I was going to more than one meeting a day. I was taking on positions at the 12-step meetings. I was being the secretary. I was being the guest speaker. I was being the one who set up the coffee. I mean, you name it. I was digging this stuff. I was getting into it, going above and beyond. And so I thought, well, that's got to count for something. Well, apparently it didn't. But here's where it starts to get really good. So at month 9, the third quarter where they meet, and then I'm waiting to hear back from them. And I get in contact with the facilitator, and I'm like, well, what was the news? What did they say? And he's like, oh, they didn't even get to your case, your file. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm sitting on my butt. Well, I'm not literally sitting on my butt. I'm not working. I'm doing all this other stuff. I'm like, my life's on pause. I need to go back to work. Like, I think at this point, it was over a year of clean urine drug screens, 12-step meetings, the whole shebang. Perfect, not a single ding on anything. And you don't even review my file. Like, you didn't have time to get to it. It's like, I'm trying to survive. Like, I can't pay my bills. I can't afford to eat. I can't afford to sleep. I can't afford my car payment. And I'm kind of being led on that, yeah, you can go back to work after 3 months, after 6 months, then 9 months, then 9 months, and you still don't even review my case? Like, what kind of government organization agency is this? And you're completely powerless, with this administrative case. It's not like you can get a lawyer and you have certain rights over this. You really don't. You're at the mercy of the board and their inadequacies and their, just their inability to, I think, really care and provide service and to help pharmacists. So I get asked this question about, do I work with government agencies? Like, they don't have a good track record of me showing that they're capable of helping pharmacists. And it's not just from my experience, it's from other pharmacists' experience, and just a lot of other things that I see. And then it gets even better. Can't go through my whole story here. I'll try to wrap this up about 5 or 10 minutes. But towards the end of my career as a pharmacist, I actually started working as a pharmacist again. Life was great. I was seeing this girl, and a lot of people know this story, and I ended up breaking up with her for no reason. We just kind of started to grow apart. And I said, I don't want to be together with you anymore. So I called things off and continued my life as normal. Well, she went to the board of pharmacy with all sorts of lies about that I've been using drugs and I'm planning on stealing drugs and just this stuff that just blew me away. And she went to the board of pharmacy with this. Well, they did another investigation and they required me to do a psychological evaluation. So at this point, I'm like feeling pretty good because I know basically everything she told them was BS. And so they sent me to this evaluator. And I actually pulled the evaluation right here. I haven't looked at this in years, but it was like a hired gun. So if you read through this evaluation, which is 12 pages long, it was like an 8-hour assessment. I did great on the evaluation on the assessment, everything from being well-dressed, well-groomed, good eye contact, clear speech, to acing every single assessment they threw at me, going through all my clean urine drug screens, all of my signed 12-step sheets, these recent letters from our facilitator, from my employer, who's a pharmacist, to a pharmacy owner, talking about how well I've been doing, how much everybody, appreciated me being a pharmacist. And all this evidence just supporting, like, no, I did not do what this person said. But without going into detail, there were some things in there that there was some truth to. And at the end of the evaluation on page 11, after 10 pages of kicking butt in this program and in life, the evaluator recommends me to a 90-day inpatient program for not being completely honest with the board of pharmacy and my support group. Like a 90-day inpatient program, like what's the criteria for a 90-day inpatient program? Well, I tell you, I certainly don't meet it. I'm not currently using, I have not failed multiple attempts to get clean and sober. 90-day inpatient program, that's pretty serious treatment. And I didn't agree with this at all. I'm like, how does this make any sense? I even talked to the board of pharmacy and the government organization, and who they contract with. I'm like, does this make any sense to you? Can you read this and tell me, how does this make sense that they're sending me to a 9-day inpatient program? They said, well, she's the expert. We have to listen to what she says and go off of that. I didn't have a choice. My insurance wouldn't pay for it because I didn't meet the criteria for an inpatient 90-day inpatient program. I didn't have $70,000 to $100,000 it would have cost, and even if I did, I just thought the thing was so ridiculous. And like, how am I ever going to get my career and life back on track if this is how things are going now? If this is what I'm dealing with, if this is what I'm up against, working with this government organization that's supposed to get my life, my career back on track and be there for me and help me. It's like, yes, I know they're there for the consumer, for the public. They're not there for pharmacists, but this particular program, I think they are there to rehabilitate me. It's called the Pharmacist Recovery Program. Help this pharmacist recover and get his career and his life back on track. They completely failed, in my opinion. I mean, I think the whole thing was a joke. And I could have chosen to pursue my license and keep my pharmacist license, but after this experience with this government agency, I did not think it'd be a smart idea to continue down this path. And I was embarrassed even just being associated with this agency and going through this whole process. That was completely ridiculous. It did not make any sense to me. You know, I had all sorts of emotions and thoughts going on in my head about this, about how inaccurate this was, about how messed up it was, how much it didn't make sense. And nobody cared. It was just me, just a pharmacist, just a number. He's not going to listen to us, and screw him, you know? And yeah, just a complete joke. So that was my experience working with this government agency to try to get better. So like, do I work with organizations like this to try to help other pharmacists? No, I don't. Like, is it a good idea? Like, well, maybe. Is there potential? Maybe. I don't know. Would it ever happen in my lifetime? I don't know. I mean, honestly, I've heard, you know, for me, this was over 5 years ago, and I've only heard things are getting worse. So if I'm going to spend my time, I'm not going to try to partner with an organization like the one I just described to try to make things better, to help people who were in my shoes 5 or 10 years ago. I think that would be a waste of my time. So what can I do? It's like, okay, well, I can be a resource, provide some knowledge, some wisdom, some direction for pharmacists who are going through something similar to what I went through, whether they're involved with the board of pharmacy, you know, having a disciplinary action or not. Like, hopefully not. Hopefully they come to me before then and say, hey, I'm having this issue. I'm in this bind. What do I do? I tell them from my wisdom, my knowledge, my experience, the best thing to do in that situation. You know, very similar if they're having a disciplinary action against their license, like, okay, like, let's talk about it. Like, I'm sure they're not enjoying it. I'm sure they think it's BS, but at the end of the day, as I've said many times before, you're getting better. You're becoming a better person. You're growing because of it. Just do it. Be happy. Be grateful. Who cares about the BS? Like, it's not forever. Just go through it, and you know, your life will be good. And I think I really needed somebody to tell me that when I was going through it. But yeah, just with everything dealing with the board of pharmacy and the organization they contracted with, that question about if I work with the government agencies, that's all I thought about. And I think, not a chance in hell am I going to work with these guys. They're a joke. Anyways, thanks for listening to me rant. I hope that was helpful in some way besides making me feel a little bit better. I always like sharing my story. You know, not only is it a healing process for me, hopefully the viewers get something out of it. If you have any questions about anything I talked about here or, you know, kind of touched on, you want me to expand on it, I'd be more than happy to. The truth is there's a lot to my story, and you could probably do a movie, a documentary that'd be a few hours long and wouldn't even catch everything. So I give you guys bits and pieces here and there. But thank you for watching this, and let me know if I could be of any help. All right.